All right, so thank you for attending our 2021 Associated Student Government Informational. So I'm just going to jump right in. All right, so what is the Associated Student Government? Well, first of all, it's a student government and a programming board. So it encompasses what people typically understand as ASG and the governing body being our executive board, judicial, and legislative branches. And we also include TPB, our programming board. We are funded by the student activity fee, which students pay semesterly, and that goes to create our budget. All undergraduate students pay this fee. Um, our body is comprised of both elected and appointed students. So the president, vice president, and senators are elected, and everyone else is appointed. And our job is to advocate for student issues, to go out, listen to our constituents, and bring back your concerns, their concerns, um, and do something about it. Part of supporting students and advocating for student issues is providing financial support for various campus services. So we fund a lot of centers, so like the third and fourth floor of the SLP and things like that, the commons and whatnot. We help financially support them. And we also facilitate communication between student organizations. Um, and we also fund student organizations through things like ASGBC, which many of you have probably heard of already, and things of that nature. And generally, as I kind of said earlier about student issues, we serve as official student voices to administrators. So we hear your concerns, and we do something about it. We If it's something relating to like academics and whatnot, we bring it to the provost and so on and so forth. So if there's a problem, we try to fix it in any way that we can. So this is our mission statement, just to give you a more succinct version of what I just said. ASG serves the USD undergraduate population as official representatives who promote opportunities for growth and expression, address student issues, and enrich a diverse, inclusive, and engaged community. And so this is kind of everything we do as a team is trying to get at this statement right here. So, what is the Associated Student Government in terms of who's in it? Um, this uh, picture is kind of a tad misleading because it shows three branches. However, as I said, TPB is part of ASG, and so if you join the team, TPB may be considered a fourth branch if we rewrite our constitution. But for now, there are kind of three official ones, and TPB is under exec. But just to kind of go through this from right to left, we have the Judicial Branch, which is our newest branch. It's chaired by the Chief Justice, and it has four other justices within it, one of which is the parliamentarian, which we'll go through all of this a little later as far as specific job descriptions. Next, we have the Legislative Branch, which is chaired by the Speaker of the Senate, and then there's the Speaker Pro Temp, and missing here is the Clerk of Senate, which is a new position. Um, then we have our four chairs of our standing committees: academics, inclusion, diversity, and equity, student life, and student organizations. And then we have three subcommittees. Um, so there's the athletics subcommittee, health and wellness, and sustainability. Um, and so four standing committees that every senator is in at least one of these. I guess you could be in more than one if you chose, but most are just in one. And so we have 30 senators total, including the chairs. There's academic senators, residential senators, and at-large senators. And I will go through what these mean specifically a little later. Lastly, we have, I guess not quite lastly, second to last is the executive board. We have it chaired by the president, and the Speaker of the Senate and Chief Justice are within the executive board, but they also have their own branches here. We also have the Vice President, through our Program Board Chair, Chief of Staff, Public Relations Chair, and Finance Chair. And under the Finance Chair, we have the Controller, who is not technically part of the Executive Board, but they play a role in ASGBC. I believe I mentioned that a little earlier. ASGBC is uh, the committee through which we disperse funds to our student organizations. Um, and so for TPB, lastly, this one, I'll go to the next slide. So this is the TPB uh, structure. At the top, you have the Turo Program Board chairs. The chair is appointed by the president of ASG and is a member of the ASG executive team, in the same way that the speaker and the chief justice are. The chair is responsible for supervising the three vice chairs, as well as the budget controller. The vice chairs are responsible for supervising event coordinators and managers. The brand manager is responsible for graphic design of TPB. So this person will be designing flyers for their events and promotions and working with their marketing manager to run social media accounts and websites. The marketing manager is responsible for promoting their events and ensuring the students know about what TPB offers them. Uh, and the budget controller manages all the finances of TPB as well as some of the management of funds for ASG. So this person will be tasked with ensuring payments are processed and helping to budget how to move money, or how much money we can spend on events. Um, let's see. There are three vice chairs that serve on the Turo program board with the chair. The purpose of the vice chair is to advise the coordinators and to work with the chair to determine what events should be planned. Each vice chair has additional areas of responsibility like marketing, graphic design, and the street team. And the role of coordinators generally is to create, plan, and execute events. So next we have what are the requirements to be part of ASG? So you must be in a minimum of 12 units, so a full-time student. You must have a minimum of a 2.5 cumulative GPA because we value academic excellence in ASG. You must watch this election informational, which you are doing, and that's typo. There is no quiz, but there's going to be a little something later on, so keep watching. You must complete an election packet, so it's just an application which this is attached to. And for academic senators, this is just a note. You must be declared in a major of the college for which you want to represent. So if you want to do social sciences, you have to be a major in the social science uh, realm, like, I don't know, sociology, something like that. And you cannot hold two or more ASU positions at a time. So you cannot be in TPP and be a senator at the same time. This application is allowing you to apply to more than one. So let's say you apply to be part of TPP and to also run as a senator. Let's say you get offered both positions, you have to choose one in the end. Um, so to get into the senator positions that are available, we have 9 residential senators on campus residential, 2 for the Vistas, 1 for the UTAs and PTAs, Manchester, San Buen, Maher, Valley A and SAPS, which is grouped together this year, Valley B, and Camino Founders. Um, Next, we have 8 commuter senators, so self-explanatory, 7 at-large senators. So at-large is you're not limited by where you live or what like academic major you've declared. You would represent the entire student body rather than just say students in the vistas or commuter students, so on and so forth. For academic senators, we have 1 for School of Business and 1 for the School of Engineering. And then the College of Arts and Sciences has 4 total senators. However, it's broken down by kind of like a departmental breakdown. So there's 1 for the arts, humanities, natural sciences, and social sciences. If you have a question about where your major may fall, you can always ask us. We'll give you our email later. But yes, that's the breakdown. So next we have responsibilities of senators. Um, so your primary job is to always represent your constituents. So if you're an at-large senator, you would be representing the entire undergraduate student population. But if you're a Vista senator, you would only represent Vistas, so on and so forth. Um, Everything you do should be, for your constituents. You should always be checking in with them to see what they need, what they want, and how their lives can be improved. And you would do that by holding your weekly office hours so they can come to you, or in those office hours, you go to them, um, and so on and so forth. Another role or responsibility of senators is meeting biweekly with your ASG advisor. So every member of ASG that I mentioned a few slides back, all of us have ASG advisors. Um, some of you will be meeting with them weekly, but for senators, you primarily meet with them bi-weekly, except for maybe chairs may meet weekly, but I'm not positive, so don't quote me. Um, so another responsibility of senators, and probably the biggest alongside representing your constituents, is attending our weekly Senate meetings. So they're Thursday during dead hours or 12 hours, 12 to 2, 12 to 2:30. And you also have weekly committee meetings, as I mentioned previously, those four standing committees that you will be a part of. You have to attend those. Next is volunteering at and supporting AHG events and activities. So, this is maybe especially applied to TPB because they're the most events out of all four branches, but helping them out whenever they need it. So just kind of teamwork. And lastly is attending mandatory retreats and trainings. So we have fall trainings and spring trainings primarily, and there may be some extras tacked on, but those two are the big ones. So you'll be required to go to those. They look a little different in person and virtually, so I can't give you a specific breakdown of how that would look, but they happen every semester. So for further opportunities as a senator, so the biggest one is Speaker of the Senate. That is your chance to lead the Senate, to be part of the executive board. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's a great position if you get it. Um, Differently from a few years ago, um, is that the Speaker of the Senate is no longer specifically elected by the entire student body. You are elected into your position as, say, a commuter senator, and then amongst yourselves as 30 senators, you choose who will be the speaker. Um, so this process looks very different. It's a group of 30 people discussing amongst themselves who they would choose to lead them, I suppose. As Speaker of the Senate, you would schedule and preside over our weekly Senate meetings, and then you would appoint the Speaker pro temp, the Clerk of Senate, and the Senate chairs. You would be in control of the Senate Initiatives Fund in conjunction with the pro temp, the Clerk of Senate, and the AHG Finance Chair. And this fund is um, the amount varies year by year, but it's a fund for senators to spend to help with initiatives they want to support their constituents. Next, as I mentioned earlier, is to serve on the AHG Executive Board. And you also have to serve on the AHG Finance Committee, which is the group of four executive board members and the four standing committee chairs who determines how our budget is allocated. And lastly, you attend Board of Trustees meetings. I believe these happen like every semester, maybe multiple times a semester, but yes. Next, you have Speaker Pro Temp, Clerk of Senate, and the ability to become a committee or subcommittee chair. So the Speaker Pro Temp acts as a vice chair for the Speaker of the Senate. So if the Speaker can't be there, the Speaker Pro Temp would chair our meetings. Um, and they serve on the Senate leadership team to help distribute the Senate Initiative Fund and so on and so forth and help manage Senate. The Clerk of Senate also serves on the Senate leadership team, and they also take minutes during Senate meetings uh, and any other responsibilities that would help manage the Senate that the Speaker delegates. Next is the committee and subcommittee chairs, and so they just oversee initiatives and like kind of organizing their committee. The committees determine amongst themselves kind of what specific initiatives they would choose, so I can't be too specific on this, but you would provide weekly updates on whatever uh, initiatives your group would like to give at Senate. And yeah, so you would just be in charge of managing that. So again, as I said earlier, here are the committees: academics, student org, inclusion, diversity, and equity, student life, and then we have athletics subcommittee, health and wellness, sustainability. I feel like these are all pretty self-explanatory in terms of what you would do with them. Academics focuses on academic issues. Student organizations helps interview potential orgs, registering or re-registering orgs to kind of facilitate that part of the decision making for the Senate. And they present the orgs that they've approved to Senate for larger Senate approval, basically. Inclusion, diversity, and equity, and student life are probably our broadest committees because they focus on basically everything. You have ID&E issues in academics and student organizations all the time, and student life is basically everything else. So next we have the executive branch. So for the president, they preside over the ASG executive branch, and there are university-wide standing committees that they are often invited to, and they have the ability to appoint other students to be part of those. And they also are the ASU representative at the Student Affairs Committee Board of Trustees. That's just a specific group in the Board of Trustees general grouping. Next, we have the vice president. So they serve on the undergraduate curriculum committee, which helps determine the undergraduate curriculum. They participate in University Senate. So those are like every other week. So they would miss our student Senate because those typically happen on Thursdays as well. Um, and so they would go and represent what ASG is doing, what have we been up to, what initiatives um, have we started, and what concerns from students have we been hearing. Uh, sorry. It's also their job to supervise and assist the chair of academics. They work very closely together with things like academic grants and whatnot. Next is to serve on the academics affairs of the board of trustees. Next, we have the public relations chair, which is generally just to oversee all external communications involving ASG, so our social media, digital print, etc. They also help coordinate ASG fall and spring elections, so they do that along with the Chief Justice, and they serve as a liaison between ASG and the UST Office of Public Affairs. Next, we have the finance chair, whose job it is to preside over the finance committee and ASGBC, which is, again, as I mentioned, the committee through which we distribute our student organization funds to our student organizations. Then we have our chief of staff, and they just assume any duties assigned to them by the ASU executive board uh, or an ASU advisor. Their job is rather uh, broad, so it's very difficult to give you specific examples. But yeah. So next we have our ASU Judicial Branch, our newest branch. It's presided over by the Chief Justice. Um, and so typically this is similar to our like the general judicial branch of the United States, I guess, in terms of presiding over hearings, court sessions. Uh, Basically, people can come to the judicial branch with disputes or needing clarification on our constitution and bylaws, and we would provide opinions on those uh, and litigate any issues going on between members of ASG and whatnot. Um, the Chief Justice specifically also has a role in initiating campus-wide referendums. Um, so for issues that we need the entire student body's opinion on, and also the Chief Justice serves on the ASU Executive Board. For the parliamentarian, they are also a judicial expert. I suppose all members of the judicial branch are judicial experts on the Constitution, bylaws, and Robert's Rules of Order, but the parliamentarian is the member of the judicial branch that goes to Senate every week and helps facilitate and run those meetings. So it's a meeting of 30 senators plus our executive board, um, plus the public. And so they help keep order in that realm by offering uh, insight into how Robert's Rules of Order would run the meeting, would facilitate the meeting, and also give clarification on our Constitution and bylaws as they are needed. And they also, like the Speaker pro tempore in the Senate, they serve as the Chief Justice's like vice chair to the judicial branch. So in case the Chief Justice cannot make it, the parliamentarian would assume that role. And then lastly, we have the three associate justices who again are judicial experts and they write opinions on each case that we deal with. So then back to the General Program Board. Uh, so it's their job, as I kind of touched on earlier, to develop intentional student programming intended to enhance student experience. So they have typically have the largest budget in ASG, and it's their job to plan intentionally just to expand the student experience to get um, to touch on as many student interests as possible, um, while making it engaging and fun and also educational in as many ways as we can. Um, they just want to try to create conversation and really enhance the student experience at USD and take, and of course, they're always open, as all members of ASG are, to taking student suggestions and implementing them, though especially TPB because their events are so centered on um, getting joy from students or eliciting joy in students. So next, we have again in TPP kind of what your week would look like. So every week you're required to have 8 office hours. 8 office hours. While this may seem a bit daunting, it's actually quite easy to accomplish, and many members of the team log more than those 8 hours, which is pretty typical actually for all members of ASG, though not required, of course. Um, you're able to break up your office hours in any way you want through the week. So as long as you're within the 9 to 5 working time frame per TPP specifically, other members of ASG can fall outside of the 9 to 5, but I believe TPP requires you to fall in that typical workday. Um, so during your office hours, you'll meet with your committee to plan events, contact vendors, collaborate with other student orgs, and work on general tasks for the team. If you have completed all necessary requirements, so you can just use your office hours to do homework or study or something. You'll also have weekly meetings with your ASG advisor and your respective vice chair. So if you're not a vice chair, you would be meeting with your vice chair. Um, and so yeah, I think that's it. So if you want more information on the responsibilities of ASG members, you can go to either this first link or the second link. It's the ASG Join ASG page on the San Diego.edu website or the TPB um, information page on the San Diego.edu website for TPB and the governing part of ASG, respectively. So this next one, as I mentioned earlier, it's not a quiz, but on the application, we're gonna ask you for a keyword. Just type in Diego Torero, and it just tells us that you actually watched this. Um, so yeah, Diego Torero is the keyword. Okay, so now we're kind of getting towards the end of this, and we're talking about the benefits of being an ASG. So I think the best perk of all of them is your ability to impact student experiences. You can create initiatives, plan events, kind of just do work that brings people together and changes their view about the campus or others that they could carry on with them for the rest of their lives and create either a great student experience or just a great event or something beneficial to our students. Um, it's as someone who's in ASG, it's incredibly powerful to and almost humbling to have that impact on students. So I hope you realize that you could also have that a great and humbling experience as well. Uh, you will have, so moving on to professional development opportunities. You also have a lot of professional and personal development over the year. So this is an opportunity which you can put on your resume as a job planning large scale events for the university or working with administrators or just advocating for students and getting things done. Um, as far as being in the know as a student on campus, it's kind of a great perk. As a member of ASG, you have the opportunity to connect with university administrators and undergraduate students and learn what's going on behind the scenes, which is it's kind of fun to just know random things and being able to answer questions that even maybe your professors don't even know the answer to. Uh, so, for example, as a TPP member, you're privy to knowing the headliner for our concerts and who the guest lecturer will be. So that's kind of like hot commodity. I remember my freshman year, uh, one of the performers was Janae Aiko. Like that's a crazy thing that they had to keep under wraps, but they knew it. So that's really awesome. And then lastly, and I suppose maybe this is actually the one of the biggest perks of being on the team is you get paid. You're not paid hourly. Sorry. You're not paid hourly for your work on the team, but if you qualify, you can get a work service award. So this award um, is added to your student account and can reduce your costs up to, well, I guess it varies by position, but it can significantly uh, reduce, I guess, the cost of your paying to go to USC. So this is for our elected positions, is a timeline of how things are breaking down. So if you're watching this informational as someone who's interested in president, vice president, or senator position, um, you are probably watching this between March 8th and March 19th when our informationals are going on. And the application is going to be due on the 21st. Um, we then approve candidates on the 22nd. So 21st is a Sunday, 22nd is a Monday. And you can campaign from the 22nd until uh, basically when voting ends. We put the 7th here. That was just because that's when the primary date happens, primary debate for if there are more than two presidential or vice presidential candidates. But for senators, this actually goes until the 15th for you necessarily. Um, Also, just a note, we'll probably email you this after you turn in your application, but and your application is approved. We won't be taking any campaign materials during spring break, but we'll elaborate more on that later. For the primary debate and voting, this is just in case, like I said, if there are more than two presidential or vice presidential candidates. If there are none, there will be no primary debate or primary vote. There will be a final debate, though, that is guaranteed. I believe the 14th is a Wednesday. Um, so that debate will be happening between the president and vice president. And for the 48-hour voting window, that is a Thursday and a Friday. And that will be where all of our elected positions are voted on. And the following Monday, we will announce the results to you all and we'll give you the opportunity to select, to accept or decline your win or, I suppose, loss. And you'll be sworn in on Tuesday, May 4th. So for the time frame of executive and judicial appointments, your informational period is a lot longer. You go from March 8th to April 15th, and applications will happen the week after the application is due, so the 19th to 23rd. You'll get more emails regarding how to sign up for your interview and so on and so forth. But yes, interviews should be happening the 19th to the 23rd, and you will also be sworn in on May 4th. For TPB, your timeline is a little different. Again, starting March 8th, but to March 19th is your informationals. Your application is due March 21st, and your interview signups are the 22nd to the 26th. The interviews will take place April 5th to the 9th, and then you will be offered your position on the 19th, and you will be sworn in on May 4th. So for our elected positions, you can declare your candidacy by uh, submitting this application, and you will then, if your GPA is and stuff works out and your units work out, you will be emailed a copy of the election bylaws and and an email saying your candidacy was approved. That will be emailed on the 22nd. And so, yeah, just make sure to fill out the application by 11:59 to on March 21st to declare your candidacy. And election rules, you will be emailed the election bylaws, as I said. So just make sure to read through them. We are rather strict in that. If there are any exceptions to the bylaws that we make this semester because of the pandemic, those will also be expressly stated in the email that I send to you. Um, so that will all happen on the 22nd when you get all this information. And you are also always able to uh, email us asking for more clarification on things that you don't understand. So, frequently asked questions, just to kind of wrap up. If I'm elected as an academic senator and I switch my major to a different college, will I lose my position? No, You will not lose your position if you come in as a sociology major and then somehow decide to switch to engineering. You will not lose your position. You'll be allowed to carry out your position, but just always keep in mind that you're serving social sciences or whatever your previous major was. As I said earlier, will you be compensated for being an ASG? In past years, we've had work service awards for most ASG positions, including senators and TPB members, judicial branch members, um, but that's based on eligibility. If you have more questions about that, you can also ask us. And can I appeal the election results? Yes. In the election bylaws, you'll have more details as far as the specific process as to how to appeal. But yes, appealing is a possibility. Um, just refer to the bylaws for more information. So if you have any other questions, you can email ASC Public Relations for the governing side of things, and TPB Chair for more TPB specific questions. Um, so yes, those are the email for questions. And then make sure to follow us on USD underscore ASG and USD underscore TPB for more updates on elections and also just general ASG, um, following ASG. So I believe that is all I have. So if you have any questions, remember to email us here, ASG Public Relations, and or at TPP Chair for your ASG/TPP questions. Um, and so thank you for listening. And also remember again that the keyword was Diego Torero. Thank you.